Hi, thank you so much for joining our Tech Talk Mini. I'm joined today by Gail Wilson. She's the founder of Accrue Designs in Dallas, Texas. Accrue Designs specializes in building brand identities. Gail herself is a multi-award winning designer, and she's incredibly passionate about helping companies put their best foot forward through brand identity. I'll turn it over to you, Gail, so you can introduce yourself a little more.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So just a little background, I worked in advertising right out of college. I was an art director and learned so many things, but just kind of as I was going down that career path, I noticed that I was just like really attracted more to the design side of things. And I felt so passionate about design and helping people feel really confident in their brand, and that kind of led me to brand identities. So I started Accrue Designs, and really the main purpose of my company is to help business owners create, beautiful brand identities and feel really confident in their brand, and just create a toolkit for them so that they feel like they have everything they need to make their brand as big and beautiful as they want to.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I personally am a huge fan of Gail and her designs. So I thought that there was no one better than Gail to kind of bring on into our branding sessions. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask you a few questions, Gail, that I think would be really helpful for individuals, helping them get kind of on the right track with where they might need to be in terms of brand. So Gail, the first question I'm going to ask you, and I think that you did kind of mention this a moment ago, but if there's anything else you'd like to say, I'd love to hear it. What drives you to help improve brand identities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's really just helping people to find what their look and feel is. Every company, whether they believe it or not, has a problem, and the problem that they're trying to solve is to get their customers to come to them to buy XYZ, buy a service, buy a product, or whatever. So solving the problem for their customer through their branding is a great way to do it. And it's really just all about the customer experience and creating a beautiful customer experience, whether it's on their website, on their Instagram, whatever it is, through direct mail, and just making sure it all goes together and really helps drive the customer home and solve a problem for them to the website that they're, for my client, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I feel like that translates really well into a donor experience as well, since, at StratusLIVE, we do a lot of work with organizations, and those donors really want to know that there is consistency behind that organization that they're supporting. They really want to feel that security behind what they are supporting. So thank you so much for that insight. Our next question is one of my personal favorite thoughts, and it's about the psychology behind a solid brand identity for your nonprofit. So can you speak on that?
Yes, absolutely. So branding really just has so many benefits. And before getting too far into the psychology, I just want to touch on a few things to think about. So first of all, branding really adds value. Especially if we're talking about nonprofits, donors give to organizations that look captivating. And also, just from an organization's point of view, branding saves you time. If you have your toolkit that the designer kind of hands off, you've got all your logos, all of your, if you have a pattern or whatever it is, that social templates, branding saves you time because you already have everything in your toolbox that you need to really create that consistency, and you already have all the answers on how to use your tools. The next thing I wanted to touch on is that branding also really provides clarity. So design communicates your message in a way that's clear and just really easy to understand. And our goal, simple is better when it comes to design and branding, because our goal is to really communicate to your audience immediately, like, what is it that you want, and the human brain doesn't have a whole lot of patience for messaging. So, if you don't hook them after 2 seconds, they're gone. So having some really good clarity is important. As we kind of already touched on this, branding also just really creates an experience. People remember how your organization made them feel. It tugs at all the different feelings, and that's part of the experience, is making them remember that experience. So branding also eliminates competition. Just having strategic, meaningful design really amplifies your organization's differences. And another point that I just really love is that branding makes you look established. So whether you're a new organization or already a fully established one, having a really solid brand identity makes you look established to all of the donors, your audience, so that whenever they come to your page or your website, they just think, wow, they know what they're doing, So those are just some really, I think, valuable points about branding. But going a little deeper into psychology, one of my favorite things to incorporate in design, and you just kind of have to from a designer standpoint, but one of my favorite things is the psychology behind colors. So believe it or not, there is meaning behind every single color. And so just a couple examples, like if you're using yellow in a logo, it might mean joy or happiness, fun. You can kind of feel that warmth. Blue could mean trust or power or confidence, purpose. All of the colors have their own meanings. And so just being really intentional in the design process about what you are wanting to communicate with your donors is so important, because that's really what makes the brand.
You are so right, Gail, and I really liked hearing your perspective behind that. I completely agree. All right, let's continue on here. I want to ask you, what is the one thing you would suggest organizations to do to improve on their brand?
Ooh, this is my favorite, I think. My magic word, consistency. Whether you already have your branding to where you want it or not, and you're just getting started, whatever it is, wherever you are in the process, consistency is key, as it is in so many areas of life. But, just creating a consistent look in however you do it, even if you don't have the branding perfectly already, created, using a specific social template every time you have a quote or whatever it is, using the same colors, using a logo in the same area of your ad or whatever it is, just kind of repeating the same things over, because that's kind of the first step to looking established and looking like, I guess, you know what you're doing. Is just consistency is key.
I completely agree. I think that consistency is really the polish that everyone needs to make sure that they are doing. And that's where those brand toolkits really come into play. It's almost like a no-brainer when you have a toolkit maybe on your bookmarks or something, and you're referencing that every single time you have a public-facing page or email or mailer going out, that you are kind of referencing that toolkit and double checking that it is within those guidelines. That consistency is what's going to continue to drive those donors to know that you are the one to give to, that you are thinking of them in a really clear way. So I really appreciate that I'm not the only one that thinks consistency and knows consistency is super important.
Yes, absolutely.
Gail, thank you so much for providing your expertise today. This was so great and so helpful, and I think so many organizations are really going to find a lot of value in this. Is there anywhere that you would like for individuals to get to know you better or reach out to you in case they are interested in a branding overhaul with you? Where should they go?
Yeah, so they can find me. I mostly post on my Instagram. So my Instagram is at Ecru Designs Co. And then my website is ecrudesigns.co.
Gail, thank you so much again, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me.